must unite what has been set asunder.
We are TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome to Spirit's Journey, coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. Your hosts are Patrick and Catherine Andrews.
Join us each week as we explore a wide range of metaphysical topics such as dreams, astrology, intuitive readings, and life purpose. You'll receive practical guidance so that you can live your most awesome life.
Learn more about what we do at intuitiveschool.com and connect with us on Facebook at Spirit's Journey Radio.
Welcome to Spirit's Journey. We are coming to you live on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio. You can also find us on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. We are here in our studio in the Heartland. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Catherine. Welcome. We've got an awesome show today, guys. We're going to be talking about money and health. I mean, really, are there any two more important topics this time of year? I don't think so. We've got two great guests that are going to be coming on to join us and enlighten us about financial and health matters. So I just want to remind everybody that our sponsor is Wandering Star Jewelry. And can you imagine what it would be like to wear your universe? With Wandering Star Jewelry, this is totally possible. This unique jewelry company makes custom necklaces and bracelets created from your date, time, and place of birth. They're absolutely gorgeous. And one of their most interesting lines of jewelry is called custom horoscope jewelry. You're surrounded by the planets, zodiac, and houses exactly as they were around the moment you were born. You can choose from a number of colors and lengths to match your taste. And a cool added gift you'll receive with any jewelry purchase from Wandering Star is a free astrology chart with a 15-page written interpretation and a full color card explaining the purpose of each gemstone bead in your horoscope. So one of the huge benefits of wearing this jewelry is that it will remind you of your planetary influences, which have everything to do with your life purpose, your gifts and talents, and your challenges. It's like a powerful testimony of the amazing, unique person that you are. So if you still need a few last-minute Christmas presents, Julie from Wandering Star is offering a special 10% off any jewelry. Just use the code SAVE10. And you can find all these amazing jewelry lines at WanderingStarJewelry.com. All right, so we are going to introduce our first guest, Dave Womack. I have known Dave for several years, and he's got some great information today. So he's going to talk to us about money. And I've known Dave for over 10 years. Dave Womack has a master's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. He's worked in the corporate world for over 20 years for companies such as Motorola and General Electric. We had the pleasure of meeting Dave when he was at the Intuitive School many years ago. And I'm proud to say that through the Intuitive School, his life has been profoundly influenced by masters such as Mahavatar Babaji. And he went there with Sandra Ray. David now resides in San Diego, where he is a licensed life and health and is being trained by a phenomenal local team of financial brokers in Southern California, who are part of a nationwide network of financial brokers working together to address a growing financial security and independence to people from all. Welcome, David.
Hello, Catherine and Patrick. Great to be with you today. Honored to be on your show.
Good to hear you.
All right, so David, let's get into the show. Tell us, from your perspective, what is money and what is its purpose?
So, money is neither good nor bad on its own. As in everything with life, the meaning or value that money has for us, we give it. Our culture assigns money as currency, and the dictionary definition of currency is something that is used as a medium of exchange. So along with that definition from our culture, each of us also has our own very personal view of money. According to the book, The Psychology of Money, investing is not the study of finance, but rather it's the study of how people behave with money. And this behavior varies depending upon our own personal environment and experiences. So I think it's important to know that that's a developing behavior that is not permanent, and it can change over time. And it very much mimics how we view life. As we do one thing, we do another thing.
I love that, Dave. It's so true, because we're here all about the mind-body connection and how the mind affects everything, including, of course, our finances. So I did want to ask, you've had such a diverse career. What brings you from a traditional engineering job to spirituality and finances? And they're linked together. And like, how do you see those linked together for you?
Well, they say that there's a couple different mindsets in life. One would just in general would be a focus on the tangible, and the other would be a focus on the intangible. My focus has always been on the intangible. So with that, to strengthen that, even from birth, I was blessed with being born into a home that emphasized spiritual values and a trust in the unseen. I believe that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. It's not the other way around. We're not primarily physical beings trying to have a spiritual experience. Very much rooted in the spiritual. However, as a human being, I also have financial fears. So I chose engineering because I view that as a stable and respectable career, and it's helped me put my fears for long-term security at rest. However, having an intangible mindset, that my mindset affects how I view everything. So I do view my engineering career as being very spiritual. When given projects as an engineer straight out of school, I remember thinking to myself, today this is the day I get fired, because they will find out I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if any of you or your listeners have had that experience in life, that you just walk into the unknown and you're not quite sure how it's going to work out. But fortunately, with my upbringing and my spiritual consciousness, I was able to relax, let go, rely on my intuition, and then the more the universe would always provide teachers with the exact support that I needed to meet or exceed any demands that I was requested, that were requested of me. And then the more I developed this trust, and I developed confidence, and I let my fear go, and I was able to relax more into my intuition. And I think a purpose that all of us have in life, no matter what we do, we're always going back and forth with this fear, with this faith and fear seesaw. Each of us have a purpose, a unique contribution, a passion that drives us. That's why we're here. We also want to leave a legacy. We want to feel that our existence matters. We could do that through having a family that lives on, keeps our name, or by setting up charitable causes. But I believe that each of us can only reach our full potential only when we feel supported and secure. We want to know that we have enough food and shelter to provide for ourselves and our families. We want to be able to support our children with education, enjoy peaceful retirement where we don't outlive our money, and provide our heirs with a secure existence, even after we're gone. So my mission now is to help individuals and families build that secure financial base and to free them to reach their true spiritual potential and contribution.
So, David, it seems like money causes so much conflict. I mean, people are in conflict, like you said. They have so many fears about money. We hear about relationships that are suffering because of money. And I've heard some people say that we would actually be better off with it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree that it would be great not to need a currency system. Wouldn't it be great if we supported each other and gave each other what we needed? This certainly works, better with smaller groups, self-contained groups such as communes, and within families even, that satisfy our own basic needs for food, for shelter, for clothing. However, a common currency enables us to extend our influence and our contribution beyond our immediate family, our immediate sphere of influence. And it's really how we shape money is how we shape our culture. It's the way that we vote on what businesses and services survive. For instance, if anybody's watched some of the programs on food, there's we can vote with our pocketbooks every day on whether we buy organic food products or non-products. If we just bought organic products, the non-organic would disappear very rapidly. Or if we bought seasonal fruit, the market would respond to that and support us in that. So having that common currency in our culture is of great benefit because it allows us to make a living with highly specialized passions as well. If I have something, say I have a small commune or a family I'm living in, but I have something I want to, a purpose I want to live in that they might not necessarily need, that having the money helps us to contribute to people in a wide variety of professions and walks of life.
That's great, Dave. I love that money allows us to have a voice by the choices where we put our money, because everything, is market driven. So the more people buy organic, the more we're going to have organic stores. So that's a great point to remember. Now, I know a lot of people always talk about, oh, if I could just win the lottery, my life would be great. I hear that all the time. And I don't really think that myself, but I was curious, if somebody wins the lottery, do you think it's going to solve all their problems? What would you say to people who have that mindset?
Well, as you say, that is a popular thought. I've heard that quite a bit myself. But there's a warning that comes along with that. There's a Dale Carnegie quote that says, "Success is getting what I want, but happiness is wanting what I get." So money, I feel, really amplifies what we already have in our lives. So big shifts in the amount of money can create unexpected events. And if I'm not in harmony and alignment with myself and my relationships, I should, be careful of that. And really to talk about the lottery and specifically, a third of all lottery winners go bankrupt. 11 have died tragically within 24 hours of winning because of self-destructive behaviors. Many experience conflicts with families and friends, and a couple of lottery winners have even been murdered. And just outside the lottery, many YouTube stars, that's a big thing now. People that are getting, fed from streaming have turned instant fame into catastrophic messes. Millionaire athletes have gone bankrupt. So if my life is not in alignment, having large sums of money can really have a devastating, destructive effect.
So if we do need money, but it can sometimes create a big mess, what do you think is the answer? What can we do to find happiness and contentment?
Well, certainly alignment with our intuition and purpose. And, people like yourself that have the intuitive school that really help people get into what their life purpose is helpful. Right relationships. Healthy lifestyle, non-destructive lifestyles. How do we support ourselves through our diet and through exercise, and really our thought system and what we focus on. We won't feel real success until our lives are in harmony and until we have that really healthy consciousness. And our consciousness influences our purpose, our livelihood, what relationships we attract into our lives, the self-care that we have, as well as our relationship with money. And I believe that our relationship with money can be used as an indicator for what my level of consciousness actually is.
That's really interesting, because I've also heard a lot too that people who are in debt almost always have relationship problems. So there definitely is a correlation. So it's really neat for me to observe attitudes towards money, and then using those attitudes as an indicator of what my level of consciousness is a really interesting concept. Can you kind of elaborate on that connection?
Yeah, just going through some of my awareness that's certainly been brought to me by going through the intuitive school is I've kind of broken it for myself down into 6 different levels of consciousness or awareness, and really no state as I go through the list is going to be inherently good or bad. It's just any one of them, I can be in any one of them myself, depending on the activity I'm involved in and what my current mindset is. So I'd say the first two levels of consciousness would be a victim consciousness and a control consciousness. And I group those together because they both believe in scarcity, that there's not enough for everyone. In the victim consciousness, things can be taken from me. I believe that life happens to me. And life feels like this joyous struggle. Even when I could have happiness, I'm always just a little bit aware because I'm looking for the next thing to come along that I wasn't expecting. When I'm in that state, my thoughts toward money might be, no matter what I do, I can never get ahead. Every time I take a step forward, I take 2 steps back. And I always have a convincing story about why I'm not doing well and why my failures to get ahead is caused by something outside of my control. And, as I said, it's not neither good nor bad. Victim consciousness can also be appropriate at times. I can become aware of and focus on the dangers when I'm, driving a car, riding a motorcycle, bicycle. There are things that affect me.
Yeah, well, yeah, that victim consciousness always loses because a victim can't win. Because if they do, then they're not a victim anymore. So it really is a trap, and it definitely affects their finances. So obviously, it's not a win-win situation being a victim. So we don't want to be a victim. So what would be the next similar level of consciousness to victim consciousness?
That's true. So I with that, I mentioned control consciousness, and there it's still rooted in scarcity, but I believe that life happens by me. So I do have some control at that point. But I am responsible for my outcomes. It focuses on, I am responsible for influencing circumstances and other people. If anything good happens to me, I need to make it happen. So there's still that kind of guarded relationship with life. Again, being proactive, taking charge, it can work very well. And there's, a lot of appropriate times where that's, taking action is certainly important and, taking responsibility. However, I can take on the burden of controlling my environment by sheer willpower and individual effort. If I do that for a long period of time, I can become exhausted, both mentally and physically. And that can create an imbalance in my relationships and health. How many times have we heard about people that, they work and they grind and they're all about the job and making money, and their personal relationships and families have completely fallen apart.
So one thing I see here is that whether somebody's in victim consciousness or control consciousness, the way you're describing it, they're always in this constant state of battling against this hostile world.
Yes. And this is, a belief that life can break my heart, can bring illness, can be chaotic. In these realities, I tend towards survival mode, and I'm less vulnerable and heart-centered in these states of consciousness. I'm more guarded, more suspicious, and it doesn't make me aware, fully capable of bringing in unlimited possibilities, and it also reduces my creativity.
So moving away from scarcity, what can we do as people living in this society to move away from the victim or this control consciousness?
So great question. I feel that the gateway, and certainly what I've learned through the intuitive school again, is forgiveness consciousness. That's just my awareness away from the fact that life happens to me to the fact that life happens in me. We've all heard the expression, wherever I go, there I am. For me, this concept is empowering because it gives me ownership. As I change myself, I am now becoming conscious that suffering, reactions, judgments, all these things come from my own personal interpretation of events and not the events themselves. So this is very important. I also believe that forgiveness consciousness allows me to develop a healthier, non-judgmental attitude about money, as well as everything in life. As I heal myself, other people's objections, criticisms, and resistance actually can be reduced or even disappear. I don't know if you notice, I do if I interact with somebody, if I have a thought in my mind, if I have a little bit of fear, that plays into the interaction, and we are completely connected. So as I overcome my own objections, criticisms, and resistance, I run into them less, and when I do run into them from others, I can handle them better with grace and ease because I've resolved the same thing within myself. So I'm actually able to help other people. This is particularly important if I open up business or the more people I interact with, because as a business thrives and expands, it means there's more opportunities for objections and criticism. By being solidly rooted in that forgiveness consciousness, it allows me to be less distracted and more focused on my purpose and mission, and it allows me to benefit more and more people.
We've done a lot of work with forgiveness in our school with our students and also with ourselves. We've had some people who have been working with Course in Miracles, like Michael Rice. And Course in Miracles works a lot with forgiveness too, and actually describes quite a bit how that shifts our perception, which actually that shift in perception is described as being the miracle.
Yes, absolutely. And again, thank you again for the intuitive school and your exposure to those concepts. A Course in Miracles has been a huge part of my life, and I love Michael Rice and the practicality that he brings to the whole concept of forgiveness and how it affects our everyday life. And for me, forgiveness enables me to give up my suspicion of life. Because if I want to trust what happens to me, good and bad, it's for my benefit. And I may see, then I can shift those circumstances. Like you say, it's all my perception that happens. So, for instance, if my boss won't give me a raise, I can either accept it if I don't think highly of myself, or if I really believe inside that I agree that I deserve that raise, I can step out. I can successfully convince my boss that I do deserve it. Or as a business owner, if a customer doesn't want to spend the money on my product, I can look at my own willingness to spend that money and buy my own products, and I can encourage them and that prospect. I can look them in the eye and honestly say, I know how you feel, but my product and my services will do great things in your life. I know that it will because it has for me and it has for others. And I'd like you to really experience and find the way that it can benefit you as well.
Well, David, we have about 3 minutes until we go into our break. What are the last thoughts that you want to leave everybody with? How would you sum this up in about 2 minutes?
So I would say as we go more into gratitude and also giving and sharing, those are really the highest levels of consciousness. And I appreciate the fact that I've been able to work into those more in my life. I would say through what we offer now, with the work that I do with the people with financial services, we offer security. We offer an education on how to use what you already have to secure that, to not to lose it, to take care of those fears that you might have of losing money, to make it work for you, to provide for people in our future, our families, if we're not there, so that we can really grow and expand and be who we were meant to be. And then we also, for the people that are still wondering about their life purpose, also provide a platform to really expand and contribute to others in a very powerful way.
So, Dave,
if someone, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if someone wants to get a hold of me, I certainly can leave my contact information with you. My email address, and I can talk more to anyone that wants to expand on these topics.
Yeah. So, Dave, how can listeners reach you if they have questions on finances?
Yeah, so my email is bwomack01@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out and contact me.
And we will post that on our Facebook page and in the chat room as well, because I know this time of year when some of us have overspent on Christmas presents and budget is not where we'd want it to be, we definitely need to bring into consciousness this awareness of money and what it really is. And of course, the gratitude aspect is huge. I always think this time of year, I'm so grateful that I have family and friends to spend the holiday with. It's not just about gifts for me. It's like, oh, great, I get to connect with all these great people in my life.
Well, Dave, I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a real pleasure having you on, and it's been a real privilege to watch you go through all the transformations that you've done in your life. It's been really exciting to see you make all these great changes and things that you're doing. So thanks again for coming on today.
We're going to have you on again, Dave, because I've got a lot more questions for you. And it's a huge topic. It's hard to cover in 30 minutes. So until the next time.
Yeah, I think we have a lot more to talk about here. So.
Thank you. Yes, just a start, and thank you for everything, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you too. And it looks like we are at the bottom of the hour, so we are going to be going into break shortly. So this is Spirit's Journey, and we are on Truth Frequency Radio. So we are going to be seeing you on the other side.
We are TFR.
My faith in destiny is all I need to prevail.
Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome back. This is Spirit's Journey coming to you from the Heartline Live on Truth Frequency Radio and simulcast on Oneness Talk Radio.
I'm Catherine. And if you still have a couple people you haven't bought Christmas presents for, I'd just like to remind everybody to consider Wandering Star Jewelry. Would you like a tool to help you manifest more in your life? Well, Wandering Star Jewelry is not only practical, but it can also help you manifest. They have a Destiny Jewelry line, and this is a line of talismans that you can use for meditation and to manifest specific things in your life. So over at Wandering Star, they identify the areas where people are usually working to transform, such as empowerment, health, money, love, and stress release. So what you would do is you work your way around these destiny necklaces and bracelets, bead by bead, like a rosary or mala, spending time saying affirmations about each of those areas so you can activate that planet's positive energy in your own life. And in addition, Julie's offering listeners a special 10% off jewelry. Just use the code SAVE10 and visit wanderingstarjewelry.com or email Julie at wanderingstarjewelry.com. All right, folks, we're on to our second guest. I am so excited to have Teresa Padilla with us today. I'm going to tell you a little about Teresa. For over 30 years, she has been teaching self-improvement, intuition, and wellness through metaphysics, feng shui, and seasonal food therapy. Teresa has a doctorate in metaphysics and is certified in feng shui professional seasonal food therapist. She specializes in aiding others to harmonize within natural seasons in order to restore vitality, wellness, and longevity, and to aid the natural alignment to fulfilling each person's true nature and balance, where anything is possible and achievable. Sounds good to me. Welcome, Teresa.
welcome. It's so wonderful to be here, and congratulations to you and Patrick on your show. It's wonderful. I love to hear, and I love the guests that I'm following.
Thank you.
So, Teresa, what is your background, and tell us how you got interested in seasonal food therapy?
Well, it was really through teaching metaphysics for years and going all over, and just seemed like there wasn't enough time in the day. You know how that goes. And I really wanted balance. I was seeking balance. So I found the feng shui and learning about the 5 different elements in nature. And that just intrigued me so much that I started studying that myself. And then I found a teacher and got certified in feng shui. And then one thing led to another, and found the seasonal food therapy. But it really has changed my life. It's helped me to restore my nature of when I was a kid, and what I really had that vitality and that youth that you have when you're a kid, and bring that out every day in my life. I have command with that I can bring that out in everything that I do now. And that's really through that balance. I love it.
I love that idea about balance, Teresa, because I know that is something so many people struggle with in their life. I hear that over and over with my clients. Oh, how do I get balance? I have too much work or not enough, free time.
Right.
And I really think that it is the cornerstone to health, not only physical, but also mental and spiritual as well, because when we're balanced, I know I myself feel so much better.
Yeah, so many people, if you just listen wherever you go, I did this as an experiment one time, just to see how many people really can benefit from balance and from restoring their health and wellness. But the topic of most people's conversation, if you're standing in line in the grocery store, if you're at work, if with somebody, if you're with your loved ones, if you just listen to the topic of what they're talking about, 3/4 of what they talk about is their health and what they eat. And what we do, we make so many choices every day about what we put into our bodies and what we do to our bodies. And that is such a dynamic that has so much power when you start becoming aware of the choices with that in the environment that you're creating. The potential for your growth, your vitality, your wellness is just off the charts. I have people now that tell me I look, 20 years younger than what I actually am, which almost every day people tell me that. And, you could be flattered by that, but I know how that occurred. That it occurs through learning about the five elements in nature and harmonizing with those things. And like, for example, right now this is the season of winter, and we're approaching Christmas soon, and people are rushing around and getting their last-minute gifts, which I will be doing too after the show. And you need to find that balance. Well, how can you do that? Through the choices that you make, such as the foods that you put in your body, the environment that you surround yourself with. Right now you want to have foods that are bitter to help restore yourself, to restore that reserve bank, that essence, that root, the kidneys. That's what winter represents. A bear and a lot of the animals in this time of year, they want to go and and squirrels, they gather everything for this time of year because they're storing. They stock up for this time of year. And what we do, we go around like little mice and spread all of our chi everywhere. And then we don't have any reserve bank left. We're tired. We get sick, and then we need a long rest to recoup. So so it's important to really build up that reserve bank, and the different foods that you eat can help you do that.
You mentioned the bitter foods, so I know in my mind, I think like kale is bitter. It's not a taste that a lot of like. So,
Right.
do you have some other suggestions of some bitter foods, and if there's any kind of sauces to make them go down a little bit easier for those that don't like bitter?
Right. Well, there's lots of foods coffee is a bitter food that people consume every day, and in winter, actually, it is very medicinal food. I think a lot of doctors and a lot of lab results are finding that the benefits of coffee now, whereas before, it was more the results were related from a chemistry perspective. What I have studied is a biological and more physics perspective to your environment and to the foods that you eat and your health and wellness. And it's kind of like related to grapes and wine. Good grapes produce good wine. Well, those environments that environment that grape is grown in produces a really delicious wine. The foods, you are what you eat. The foods that you put into your body create and produce a certain dynamic within your health and within your environment. And the foods right now of bitter, coffee, they go to your heart. A lot of people, and you can tell that they go to your nervous system. Well, all bitter foods will go to your heart. They strengthen your heart. Celery is a wonderful food that goes to the kidneys, which is what you want to help restore your root. That's your kidneys, and that's the main organ that's associated with winter in this season. And heart and the nervous system are more fiery foods, more bitter foods. So celery is a food that's a perfect marriage between the two. It helps restore your root. It helps restore your blood. It helps restore your nervous system. And one of the really simple things that you can do is steep a couple stalks of celery in some water in the morning, and then drink that celery tea first thing in the morning, and then eat those 2 stalks of celery in the afternoon. That will help your blood pressure. It helps balance out your blood pressure. It helps strengthen, like elderly people, it helps restore their vitality and their essence and their heart. In fact, I have worked with some individuals that have had strokes, and when doing the celery tea, they haven't had a stroke again. There's a lot of different things that go into, creating that good environment. So it's not just one thing that you do. It's a multitude of things that you can do. It's those choices that you make every day that do make a difference.
Now, Teresa, you mentioned that you are what you eat. I think most of us probably grew up hearing that. But what does that really mean, and how does that relate to what you do?
Well, the thing that I really think about when I hear that is your environment that you're creating with what you eat. Like you hear people that say, oh, that's a heart-centered person. Well, what does that mean? I mean, we all know what that means, but when you look at it from, what we're talking about right now, that's a person, when you find out what they're eating and what they're doing in their life, they're going to be eating more warm foods. They're going to be eating more bitter foods. They're going to be eating foods that help nourish the blood, and that helps to make them more of a heart-centered person. It's just not magic that happens. It is a result of the different choices that you make on a daily basis that produce A plus B equals C. So it is those little things that you do every day that build up, like our previous guest was talking about, the financial management. Well, the stock that you have in your health those little choices that you make every day either create longevity or create a deficit for us. So when you keep on pulling out of your reserve bank, like I have, what I'm prone to do sometimes is to work so much in one area that I just pull and pull and pull from that area, and then I burn out myself, And that's just kind of what my culture is that I grew up with. So I always have to continue to work with that and balance that. Well, the celery tea, root vegetables, white ginseng, and I emphasize white ginseng because a lot of people are into the energy drinks, and red ginseng is in a lot of those, and in most of those energy drinks. That isn't going to really produce the balance that you're seeking, because that's going to build your chi. There's so much so that then it drains your essence. There's a yin and yang balance between within your body, within every organ that you have, within your environment, and that's something to notice and to be, not cautious of, but just be attentive to. So if you're giving so much attention to a lot of people eat the same foods every day. It's amazing when you start asking people what they eat, and I do that in working with people with seasonal food therapy. I do consultations, and the first thing that I do is I ask them questions, and I have them write down a journal of what they eat every day. And it's amazing when you come back, and maybe it's a week or that you come back and meet with them, and they'll have a few things written down, and then when you start asking more questions, you realize, oh, well, there's about 100 more foods that they didn't even mention that they had yesterday. People don't even, okay, I had salt, I had pepper, I had oil. All those things are foods, and they all create a kind of environment in yourself. And it's very easy to create good health and create a good environment. You don't have to pay attention to every little thing, but any little thing that you pay attention to makes a big difference. Like when I first started using this philosophy in my life with the 5 elements and creating more of a balance with that and eating the foods that nourish those organs at those times in the season, I started in summertime. So I was eating more Mexican foods almost every day, which I love, and cheese, which I loved at that time, and I still kind of love the flavor of cheese. Well, I started eating what we call more neutral foods, and when you bring anything to a neutral state, then it releases the excess and it releases the deficiency, and it kind of resets yourself like a computer is reset. Like you just turned and turned off, you turned on and turned off the computer. That's what neutral foods do to you. So celery is a neutral food. A lot of root vegetables are neutral foods. Squash, pumpkins, anything that's kind of yellow or orange, they're called earth foods. They're neutral foods, and they really help restore and kind of reset yourself.
It was amazing. And so I like how when you were talking about, creating the internal environment, and it reminds me when I studied nutrition, we learned the basic idea that it's not the germ or these outside things that are making us sick, but it's the terrain or the interior environment, our microbiome, that makes us susceptible to health or wellness, because we're bombarded with germs every day, but it's whether or not we get sick is all dependent on that internal environment. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, definitely. I think that, you see these kids who have now diabetes, when they're 8. That's an environment that's being created by the choices that they make every day and by what foods they're putting in their body. And what I really love about, paying attention to that internal environment and the foods that help to support that is that you can eat all the different kind of foods that you want. You don't have to go on a diet, by any means. And that's not what it's about. It's about continuing to make choices and continuing to eat. It's continuing to support yourself. It's continuing to nourish yourself. So, when I learned how to really harmonize with that environment, I returned to the weight that I was when I was 18 years old, and my skin is returning to the same kind of elasticity that I had when I was 18 as well. So, you can restore that youth within you, and that's what I call that internal environment. But you have to make choices to do that. So right now, a good thing to do is to wake up in the morning and stretch before you run and get out of bed. Stretch yourself and pull your heels, push your heels out, pull your toes back towards yourself, stretch your hands over your head, and that's a good stretch that what it does is it energizes the kidneys, and it helps refresh the heart, which are the main organs right now that you want to sustain and that are sustaining yourself through winter. And then go drink some celery tea. Then plan and plan ahead and eat some more warming foods. Of course, we want to eat warming foods to help that, internal environment to create heat inside of ourselves, because we've got the cold winter outside, and it depends on where we are in the universe.
Yeah, that's so interesting you say that, because I came down with a cold last week, and I had a friend come visit who is an acupuncturist from China. And for breakfast, I made myself a smoothie, which is something I love. I put a lot of good things in there, but it's a cold drink. And she's like, you got to stop those smoothies in the winter. And I was like, oh, darn, I just love them. But she's like, yeah, you got to eat warming foods, switch to porridge and stuff. So I said, okay, I'll do it. I'll wait till spring and summer to do my smoothies. But I had a question on the celery, Teresa. So I love to juice, and if I juice the celery and drink the juice, is that also acceptable?
Oh yeah, definitely. Any way that being creative like that, there's ideal ways of, the best way of doing something. I call it good, better, or best. You can't always be your best, but you can be good. So getting that celery in, however you can get it, is going to be good. It's better to juice it. It's better to cook it so that you can really take it in. Celery is very hard to break down, the little strings in it. If when it goes down the garbage disposal, gets wrapped around there, it doesn't really break down. Well, it's the same thing in your digestion. Celery, a lot of raw foods, unless you're in a tropical environment, where you've got that heat outside, like Hawaii or something. When I went to Hawaii, you can eat almost anything and you're going to digest it there because the environment is conducive for that. But like right now, I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, so the environment is not necessarily conducive for digesting anything. So cooking your foods and juicing your foods is important to help aid your digestion.
So, Teresa, we have a little over 2.5 minutes here before we're going to be wrapping up. So, since we just had the winter solstice, are there any further suggestions for this type of season in terms of what foods that you would suggest that we eat during the winter?
Yeah, I think the main thing is that you want to restore your essence and your root. So think of foods that have roots, vegetables like celery root, beetroots, turnips, all those things. Make a stir fry, cook those root vegetables, juice them in the morning, drink them in, make teas out of them. The good, healthy, like buckwheat grains that you could creating like an oatmeal or a porridge out of those in the morning to eat. Soups are excellent because you could put the cooked vegetables and the root vegetables in there and then create a stock out of that, and that's just very healthy for you right now. That helps build up your reserve bank so that when spring comes, they pull from the chi rises from that reserve bank. Well, this is a time where you can store and build up your reserve bank so that when the chi is rising, you're going to have more of a balance as well, and you're going to have a plenitude, and that it'll feed all organs of your body and yourself.
And suggestions and food ideas. And so I do want to let our listeners want to get some recipes or ideas. Go to Second Nature, which is the name of your business. And do you want or how can what you do?
Yeah, I'm kind of focusing on. I've taught for many years. Done consultations for many years. I'm kind of focusing on this phase of my life. I still do those things, but I'm creating retreats where people can experience how to harmonize with nature and really kind of get a tangible hold on those foods that you can eat, the balance in the everyday life that you can create, and how you can do that over a weekend or a week-long retreat. And so that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now, where you can email me at Teresa, TERESAAP, 2004 at yahoo.com for questions or consultations. And also go to Facebook, 5 Element Foodies, and there's articles, there's recipes on there, and there's a lot of dialogue there, so it's a good place to find the seasonal foods right now.
All right. Thanks for coming on, Teresa. We'll definitely have you back for the different seasons to give us more information, and we'll post your information on our Facebook page too at Spirits Journey Radio so people can find it.
And so we're almost at the bottom of the hour, so thank you, Teresa, and we're going to have you back the next change of seasons.
Well, thank you very much. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday.
Yes, same to you.
Same to you.
And speaking of that, we do have the holiday coming up. So if you're still looking for that last-minute gift, Wandering Star Jewelry offers another line called the Mommy Jewelry line. And they are custom multi-strand necklaces that feature strands for kids, mom, and dad. So you could get your mom a personalized beaded necklace or charm bracelet. They've also got Zodiac Jewelry line for all the 12 Zodiac signs. Helps you harness the power of that special Zodiac energy, balance your strength and your weaknesses. And the 12 Zodiac jewelry designs feature a pewter bead with your Zodiac symbol. And next to it is a semi-precious stone bead that represents the ruling planet associated with your Zodiac sign. You can call on those beads as a source of your talents and strength. WanderingStarJewelry.com.
All right. We love having you with us, so please connect with us on Facebook at Spirits Journey Radio and like our page so that we can be part of your life. And this is Spirits Journey on Truth Frequency Radio.